Mention. So unique voice, correct?
Very. Is this Bobcat Goldthwait?
Yes. His greatest hits.
I'm kidding, guys.
Jimmy was right. He was validating you.
Is this actually Bobcat Goldthwait?
Jimmy?
Yes. It's part of his greatest hits.
I thought that was sarcastic. I didn't know I actually got that right.
So very unique voice, correct?
Very.
I think he just Kellen to board you. Are you familiar with Jocko
Willink?
Yes.
I have a book. I've read Jocko Willink's book on discipline, and actually very, very useful for my life.
So for people that don't know, motivational speaker, but he's a retired Navy SEAL officer. I first came onto him when he was doing a podcast, but as you mentioned, he's an author, leadership instructor. TikTok has been really good for him.
Very good for him. YouTube was the OG for Jocko, and then it turned into TikTok. Yeah.
So Jordy Ball is not the National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
She did not win and lost to a player from Arkansas who did not have 20-plus home runs or 20-plus wins this year. And that seems like
ridiculous. Dumb.
Yeah. But
incorrect.
But she's not the Player of the Year. And if you're wondering, well, Arkansas must be in Oklahoma City. They are not. So all I could think about when I saw that come across my timeline yesterday, between all of the college football people fighting, was Jocko. You know, he has the line of
good.
Yeah, you didn't get that promotion. Good. Be better. And all I could think about is the year of Jordy Ball, 2026. Cold-blooded, determined, scorned, a desire. Good. Good.
You lost to Tennessee. Good.
Yeah. Didn't get the National Player of the Year. Good. Get better.
You didn't get to Oklahoma State. Good.
That's all I can think about.
There's somebody just entered the transfer portal. Good.
One of your teammates did. I think that was okay yesterday.
Yeah,
I think
that's fine.
That's all I can think about. Jocko.
Yeah, my ex-girlfriend introduced me to Jocko Willink.
Like the chair in the corner introduced, or
Jesus, Jimmy.
Hello,
Jimmy.
Told you we're back.
Hello,
Jimmy.
Go back to figuring out.
Yeah.
If everybody's going to wear the T-shirts in Oklahoma City tonight, okay, for Game 5.
No, she gave me the book on discipline, the Jocko Willink book on discipline.
No. How did we get to that point?
Because I guess I was an undisciplined human.
How much older was this person?
We were the same age. We were in high school. She was 18. I was 18.
And she gave you the book?
Yeah, she got me a book.
Was she very controlling?
Irish.
Well, I don't care if she's Irish or she's Jewish or whatever. Is she controlling?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's what she wanted. Like did she manipulate you?
No.
Did you feel threatened?
No, because I was too much of a dunce to be manipulated. Like I was just
maybe you didn't know it, but you were.
Maybe.
I did. Was she mind you?
No, I don't. I won the divorce, which was good. Like, because we all had mutual friends, and then we broke up, and like she tried to separate them from me, and then I ended up getting them all.
Did she ask for the book back?
No, I still have it. I actually brought the book to Omaha
so you won.
No, it's actually a great book that has like been very fruitful for me. Like you read it, and like there are very good lessons about discipline and like getting out of bed and not hitting the snooze button and facing adversity, and like there's breathing techniques for when you have stress and anxiety. It talks about sleep patterns. Like
we may have to talk after the show.
No, it's actually it's a great read. There is like a handwritten love note in there, which is a little awkward when I read it because we're no longer together. But it's one of the better pieces of literature that I've been given. Your exes give you a lot that last in life.
I'm not touching that one.
Some
I have
kids,
a quota.
Other gives you books.
Not the same, by the way.
Jimmy Dugan once gave advice on those kind of things.
Chris writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. He said about the punter, learn yourself some Archie. Archie Wilson is the rugby-style Australian that's going to be joining Nebraska. He says the good news, if he doesn't work out, we can just have him deported, which will save us a scholarship, and then we can have immediately give it to a better punter.
Whoa.
That is
Whoa.
that's morbid.
I don't think that would happen, but I thought I would read the email. But I should mention this. So remember, Nebraska has had an Australian punter before. Let me take you back. You
Take
ready?
me. Take
It
me
was
higher.
a Saturday night, September 26th, 2021.
Oh.
Let's all go to Spartan Stadium
Stop.
and let's talk about the last time an Australian punter was in the news, shall we? Okay.
That was my first.
Thought we were gonna
Now-
play the fun way back game.
This
No,
this was
no.
that was my first like, wow, this is this program moment.
So,
You know?
what was worse with special teams, 2021 or 2024? Now, let me give you that night because I said earlier, most Australian punters work out, correct?
Most, yeah.
Most. But I don't think people realize what kind of a special teams night that was. I think Connor Culp gets lost in the discussion because, as you remember,
He missed it. Didn't he miss a
well, he had missed up to that game.
he missed a
He had
lot.
missed 7 total kicks in the first 4 games.
That
But
Oklahoma game. Ugh.
that night against Michigan State, he made both of his field goals.
Okay.
Now,
Attaboy Connor.
granted, I believe that both were from 28 yards. But when you have missed
Yeah, you gotta see
7
one go
total
through the
kicks
hoop.
over the first 4 games, making 2 field goals and your extra points was a big thing. And you're like, Nebraska's got the special teams figured out.
We're
But
turning the corner.
can we discuss, let's take a groin kick together here. Put on the cod piece if you'd like. The 2 punters that punted that night. William Bristip, he had a 28-yard kick. Now, I would take a 28-yard field goal over a 28-yard punt. But let's also
Hot
be
take.
fair here. William got to punt again. He had a 7-yard shank.
Attaboy.
Now, here we go. Then comes the Australian.
Yeah, calling the Aussie. Our Toyota call to the pen.
Daniel Cerny. Let me just revisit something. 4 minutes left to go in the game. Damon Benning and myself are in the studio here. We're getting ready to do a big red overreaction. We're like, man, this is going to be a nice win. Boy, they needed this win in a big way. Nebraska's leading 20-13, and now Nebraska has to punt the ball, and they turn it over to their defense. There's no way that Kenneth Walker is going to run on Nebraska. They're going to win this football game. And then and I kid you not, we're both in studio. Cerny rolls to his right. He was supposed to kick the ball down the right sideline because that's where the coverage was going. He instead kicked it to the left side of the field because Australians sometimes get confused about their rights and the lefts.
Yeah.
Because it goes a lot, I'm pretty sure, what side of the road they drive on.
Yeah, east and west.
Okay?
East and west.
Now, we are watching this in studio in real time, not thinking about Australian punters, damn you.
Because why would you?
The fact that Jaden Reed caught it and housed it for 62 yards. And then, to top it off, we're playing the postgame show. And this is the exact quote from the head coach. Quote, "We've got to punt the ball. We have guys at the university specifically for the reason to punt it. And we have a couple of 10-yard punts that almost cost us. And then right when we needed it most, we kick it to the wrong side of the field. Some of the coverage guys didn't see it, and it cost us the game." That quote and that moment on Big Red Overreaction went for 90 minutes on that one specific thing.
How are the phone calls? I'm sure they were spirited on a Saturday evening.
Yeah.
Do you remember how they
So
scored?
maybe not all Australian punters. Maybe you need to draw them a diagram. Can you imagine
Well,
Foley?
he was a backup Australian punter.
Hey, can you imagine Ed Foley coaching Cerny?
Oof.
Or Connor Culp, who, everybody says, hey, when there were fans in the stands, he struggled, but when there wasn't, he was good. That's how
Sounds
bad.
like a pretty important
That's how
part.
bad special teams have been. God dang it, Mike Eckler, save us, okay? Save us.
Mike, I'm begging you. I want a punt return for 12 yards.
You know what? People went crazy when Callahan threw it on the first play of the spring game. If the first time in 2025, the year of whatever may happen in Lincoln, if they don't fair catch the punt and they actually return it, I mean, we may love Mike Eckler long time.
Even if they get like 3 yards, if they just return the punt every time, there'll be like, oh my God, there's change.
So learn yourself some Archie Wilson. But I step back and say not all Australian punters are great.
So
sometimes you have some miscommunication. But he certainly did average 37 yards on 3 punts that night, if you were wondering.
Real quick. Do you remember how they scored the first touchdown of that game?
Michigan State?
Yeah.
It was a weird play.
Yeah.
Because Nebraska scored an odd touchdown in that game, too.
Yeah. Do you remember? It was a flea flicker. So they scored touchdowns.
It would be very much on brand for
on a
the 2021 team.
Over the head of Miles Farmer. It was a flea flicker touchdown. And then later that game, they had a punt return touchdown. And they won a game and where they didn't have a first down in the second half, and they scored a touchdown on a flea flicker.
Well, and then that became part of the streak of not doing anything in overtime.
So, oh yeah, good point. That did add to that.
Sad thing is, I've been here long enough to know that once you said you and Damon in a night game, I knew this was where this was going.
Well, the funny thing is that I also was on a post game that night on a radio station with Jeff Ekstrom. And there is a archive out there of just him and I screaming into a microphone for a good 40 minutes.
That would be a.
This is great.
That would be.
I'm telling you, that was my first WTF this program.
Maybe that game is a lesson for Matt Rule.
Punt it to the right.
Hey, this is how people have attacked Nebraska for years. Okay, some come by land, some come by sea.
They just wait for you to attack yourself.
Exactly. You know what? You might be a liberal. What you happen here with Nebraska is you're facing a lot of conservatives out there, and they just wait for you to muck it up. It works like a charm.
It does.
Okay?
It does.
That's how people beat Nebraska. So how about we do this in 2025? How about we reverse it? Okay? But also, I would like to see an in-depth, maybe this is a podcast one where you can just go on and on, there's so many moving parts about that game in 2021. The fiasco of how did the miscommunication of the punter go so wrong that the entire team is running down one side of the field and basically Cerny off of his foot is playing catch with Reed and he's housing it back the other way. And then also that game is the broken jaw of Adrian Martinez.
That did happen. Well, then the funny thing is too is that Adrian, it didn't fully come out that the jaw was there. Like we kind of heard or knew that there was something wrong, but there wasn't a whole hey, he's kind of messed up. But I don't know if you remember.
Until his head coach said so.
I don't know if you remember. He had a podcast that was going on that was very, very popular. That was like the beginning of the NIL era. In which a lot of people were tuning in and listening to it because it was like, oh my God, a Nebraska quarterback hasn't had this medium to talk like this, during the season and whatnot. And then he couldn't talk anymore. He wasn't doing the podcast episodes anymore because he hurt his jaw. And then you had people connecting the dots and being like, well, I think he actually is hurt because he hasn't released a podcast episode in 4 weeks, which is a crazy dynamic to think about. Just yeah, I think Draymond's hurt because he's not rambling on Colin Cowherd's podcast now.
So Adam jokingly brings it up, and I got to find the quote. Where is it at here?
Was that game after the Michigan game or before the Michigan game?
That game was.
Wasn't it a week after, or was it? Let me look. Because then we watched that game, and then we still convinced ourselves that they were a good football team.
So people were starting to get on that Adrian had broke his jaw, and Frost was asked this the week after that game, and Frost's quote was, "Ridiculous rumors. He probably had lupus or leprosy, smallpox, all these other things. He's fine."
Cholera, diphtheria. I played Oregon Trail.
That's better than the Uzbekistan one. That's
I mean, that's you. What you? Let's give Frost some credit here on that. How many other college football coaches
can say that.
have been able to include all three of those diseases in one sentence?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he rehearsed that, or those words just came to his mind? Because I don't know if, like, I would just pick leprosy and lupus right off the top of my
And
head.
then drop in smallpox.
And then drop in smallpox.
When I was in grade school in Wood River, we learned this in the classroom about the when it was
Plague.
cold. Yeah, when the people had the plague.
Yeah, we get a quote from a civics teacher. Scott was always attentive in 4th grade social studies. I mean, his Spanish flu test, he killed it.
He knew a lot about the Byzantine Empire.
All right, so Archie,
100 Years War, Scott knows how to do that. Adjusting to when Illinois goes to cover 3, don't ask him about it.
Archie Wilson, you got some big shoes to fill. So welcome to America.
Well, he can fill them with both feet. With his left and his right.
Wouldn't it be better if he was like barefooted punter?
That'd be sick.
He is an offshoot of Sid Finch. They should have built this up. They should have just leaned into this.
The first time he punts with his right foot, it's like, all right, we're going to be looking for, like, oh my God, he did it with the left now. I'm going to be freaking out about it. We're going to have the binocs right on him. Which foot did he use?
Imagine if Cerny would have been ambidextrous footage.
It's just ambidextrous.
Really? It doesn't matter if it's your foot or your arm?
I don't think so.
Because they're different.
I'm a righty, but I bat lefty. Fun fact.